I'm doing IVF, like I'm doing this, we'll figure it out as we get there. And I think that's a piece that is a struggle for people who want to go through this is really the financial aspect. And when you are a small business owner or are self-employed, you're not going to have access to some of the benefits that other people do.
Hello there. This is Samantha Saxby with another episode of Moms with Benefits. And I am sitting here with Abbey. Abbey is going to really share her experience about being a single mom by choice. And so we are so excited to have her today, have her share with honesty her experience. And so, Abbey, welcome and tell me about you and your little one and your family to start us off.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. So, yeah, I decided to become a single mom by choice at age 40. I didn't even know that was a term. I just was like, how do I do this? And the lovely social media, I found some person on there and just reached out to them and was like, how do you do this? And she was like, find this Facebook group, has all the information to get you started. So it's just crazy how you can make connections out there. So I was 40. I hadn't met, the guy of my dreams, and I've always wanted to be a mom. And so I was like, let me see what this process is. I met with a fertility specialist who said because of my age, and we did some blood work, I would have an 11% chance of getting pregnant with one round of IVF. Because I work for myself, I don't have the regular medical benefits, and I can't actually even get access to medical benefits that are out there for fertility that other people. So some corporations, you can get these add-on fertility benefits that are separate plans. So I was like, okay, I have one chance. Like, this is how much it's going to cost me. This is how much money I have saved. We're just going to go for it. I have one chance and we'll kind of see what happens. And science, love, hope, and luck, and all of that, the universe, whatever you want to believe in. I got pregnant on the first try. Currently, she'll be 18 months.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I get tingles thinking about like the 11%
Yeah.
chance. So I think there's a lot of different ways that we could talk about your experience, like different lenses to look at it through. So let's start with this decision. You're 40 years old, you want a child. How did you come to make this decision?
A lot of thought, a lot of analyzing and reading and some research too, and talking. I did find this Facebook group of single moms by choice that were trying, and some had already had a child. So listening to their stories, listening to some of the process. I also have like the person that's been my therapist slash coach for many years who knows me and was like, if you don't do this, like, how will you feel? If you never try, you'll never know, which has been my attitude with like different parts of my life. And I didn't want to live with that regret of never trying. I did keep it very quiet with most people in my life until I started sharing about it after I was starting the process. And then even then I kept it quiet as I was going through the different fertility treatments. I didn't really want many people to tell me like, you shouldn't do it, you can't do it. I did get that. I did get some acquaintances and people I thought were friends who were like, why? Like, actually, my very first doctor's appointment was with my primary care doctor. I kind of forget about this, but and I told her, and I've known her for 20 years, and she has 3 children, and she's like, why would you want to have kids? Like, you're 40, like, why? And I was like, you have 3 teenagers, like, isn't it wonderful? And she was like, no. And she was like, I just don't think you should do it. And I was like shocked, and she laughed at my idea to do it. And I stopped in my car on the way home. But that also gave me more fuel of like, this is something I know I want this so bad that I'm just going to figure it out. And here I am.
That was a practitioner's response?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've gone back to see her after I had my daughter. I didn't see her the whole time. I told her, I was like, I just want you to know like how you impacted me in that. And she's like, oh, I just kind of laughed. Like, she does have a nervous laughter, but I was like, that's not okay. Like, that could really crush someone. So we had a good conversation about it when I was like ready to have that conversation.
Wow. Okay. So impressed that you went back and had that conversation or still are able to have a relationship. I think that that shows true maturity and growth here. But circling back to, it sounds like the idea that you might regret it was a big driver
Mhm,
in your decision.
mhm,
And then it also felt like it's just something you had to do, like a gut visceral pull, maybe
mhm.
like a intuition.
Yeah, I mean, it was always there in the back of my head. Like I always wanted kids, and I thought like I wanted to experience the whole process of like what it would like. I couldn't imagine not knowing what it would feel like to be like I wanted to know what it felt like to be pregnant, like the whole like have childbirth, you read about like I really wanted to feel it. Yes, the idea of like adopting or fostering or I mean that was like, all right, let me try having a child on my own first and then I can approach that. But I really wanted to know what it felt like to like have a child and go through pregnancy and childbirth.
Yeah.
There was just something I was so driven to feel. I wanted to really experience that in my life.
Yeah. And so, how did it feel when you realized you were pregnant and that the one round worked?
So the wild thing about the transfer process is you're on like an ultrasound monitor and you can see them attaching the embryo. And the moment they attached my daughter, the screen flashed this bright white light. And it was just I have it on video. Um, and it was just amazing. I was like, I think it worked. It worked. And I just kept telling myself it worked. And then, like anyone who's trying, you're like waiting to take pregnancy tests. And then you take the one and you're like, is there a line? And then when I saw the line and then I actually went back for the official, like, you're pregnant, it still didn't feel real until I had the ultrasound where I could hear her heartbeat, which I actually heard on my 41st birthday. And you get to hear that early on with IVF because they do a vaginal ultrasound. So I got to hear it. She was like 5 weeks old, I think, 6 weeks old, because IVF, like the ages are kind of different. And I was like, oh, this is really kind of happening. But I think with anyone who's pregnant, like you remind yourself every day, like this is kind of happening, like, is this happening? This is real. This is real. This is amazing. So, I mean, I had a wonderful, pretty much wonderful pregnancy as a geriatric mom. I laugh because I just am like, this is really the term. Still, you have like a lot more tests. And the beauty of that is you do get more ultrasound. So you get to like see your baby more too. So first I was like annoyed, to be honest, but then I was like, this is great. And then, yeah, I almost didn't make it to the hospital in time when it came to labor because I was just at home. And luckily my midwife had given me her number to deliver in the hospital. And she was like, you need to go right now. I was like, really? Because the calculator on my phone, the timer says like I have time yet. She's like, you gotta go. So yeah, I had a great pregnancy, and I actually wanted to have like a water birth, but being of my age, it wasn't recommended, or like a home birth. But I'm glad I did it the way I did it.
It sounds like you came at it with such optimism and that it was going to be a positive experience, and it sounds like it was. I'm curious, my mind went to, I know when I was pregnant, I had a lot of anxiety until like the anatomy scan.
Mhm.
I don't know, for me, I felt like I had a marker of like I was so terrified of a miscarriage. And
Yeah.
so and I know this is very sensitive stuff to talk about. So, did you feel like you had any anxiety with a potential loss because of the IVF approach?
hmm Yeah, I mean, there were definitely those fears, and I just tried to stay in the present moment. And when those fears came up, I said, okay, I would think through them. Again, I had my coach, she's a retired therapist who coaches, and I would talk to her because I needed someone that could really not let their emotions come into that conversation too. So it was a really great person to have along the journey. And yeah, I would focus on the moment, because there's lots of things like all the blood tests, the anatomy scan, I'm having like additional heart monitoring. They were like, because you did IVF, we can't really see the best picture. You need to go see like a cardiologist for her and all these. And so I was like, oh, we're just going to take it each step of the way. And not focus on all of the what ifs, which is really hard because I'm such a what if and a planner. But I was like, I'm not going to plan for the what if this doesn't work or what if this doesn't happen or what if. So just really, dialing it to the present moment. And so it meant like going for walks. I mean, I didn't exercise like I thought I would do. Like my pregnancy, which I thought I would still be active and everything up until a certain point, they didn't clear me. I didn't do anything. I like slow walks. And then when I could be physically active, I still kept it really low key. I did paddleboard, which is my favorite thing. And I swam, but like I did not go back to the gym. I didn't do all that, which was something I thought I envisioned for my pregnancy. But it was like, where am I at each day? How am I feeling mentally and physically?
Yeah. And so talk to me about your support system that you had or did not have in place. Was that curated by you? Was that already there pre-pregnancy? Like, talk to me about that, because I feel like as a single mom by choice, that that looks different than those that are with a partner on this journey to have a child.
Yeah, so my mom was very supportive. She lives with me, so like it was great to have that, and it was a conversation too of like this is where my life is going. I had like a few very close friends that continue to kind of support me. Some have kids, some don't. And then I had my coach who was very supportive and was like there a text message away if I didn't have an in-person session. And then I connected with another single mom by choice who had lived in my area, and we were due around the same time. And funny, our daughters ended up being born on the exact same day, just hours apart. We still have not yet met in person. We still talk, but it's just been a wild ride. And I have like another single mom by choice that I've met post-birth that I talk to on a daily basis for that support of like, hey, I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling frazzled about childcare today, or worried about money, or how do we meet mom friends? Or does it feel weird meeting mom friends for you who are partnered? We both have kind of different I don't mind. She's worried about feeling like the third wheel in some of those.
Interesting. So sounds like such a solid support system you were able to lean on, and other single moms by choice were a big part of that because it's such a unique experience that you're able to relate in a different way. Is that fair?
Yeah. And I think it's nice to find a group of people that can understand. And so if you can't create something in your own community or with the people, because maybe your life just grows in different ways, it's like, how can you create that? Because I always feel that there's someone else sitting in their house somewhere else that's feeling the same way you are. We just have to find a way to reach them. And so as much as sometimes social media has its cons, it also really has a lot of positives when it comes to bringing people together.
Yeah, it's almost like the difference is like being maybe purposeful or acting with agency as opposed to being passive in the scrolling maybe. You did mention finances and that there was a cost to the IVF procedure, one, and then you also mentioned perhaps a concern about getting back to paid work after you were out and daycare struggles. So let's talk about the financial impact that this decision has made on your life.
So the biggest piece was, how do I come up with the money to go through IVF? So I drained all of my savings. A friend of mine was like, start a GoFundMe. So I did that for a little bit. And that's where I got some negative support and some really bizarre comments. We'll just leave it at that. But most of it was, I just decided I'm going to drain my savings, and I was working more at the time too. So it was dialing back. I had a storage unit that I wasn't using. I sold stuff. I just then donated everything. So I would have that money. It was like, how can I downsize and cut certain expenses that I didn't need? Yes, when I got pregnant, I bought some maternity clothes, but I was like very mindful of where my money was going and to come up with the money. And that's why I didn't transfer as quickly as I did, because I needed like another month to like get some money together. And then coming back from maternity leave, I knew I had like a certain amount of money that I had. I ended up extending my maternity leave.
So let's talk about your maternity leave. What did you get?
Mm-hmm.
And through who?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a therapist and a coach, so I work for myself. So I have nothing. I get paid when I see a client, when I'm not working, even when like this week when I'm not working, I'm not making money. So it was my savings. Because of that, like I don't qualify for disability. I've heard that in certain states you can pay into different things with potential of having access to money while you're on maternity leave. I didn't even look into that. To be honest, I was like, I'm doing IVF, like I'm doing this. We'll figure it out as we get there. And I was like, I'm just gonna, I've done it where I've lived, unfortunately, paycheck to paycheck, a big chunk of my life. And I was like, I will figure this out somehow. And I think that's a piece that is a struggle for people who want to go through this, is really the financial aspect. And when you are a small business owner or are self-employed, or if you're a contractor for someone, you're not going to have access to some of the benefits that other people do.
Right.
Some women that have decided to go on this will go get a job at a company that does offer some benefits for a short amount of time. That did not feel right to me to do. Plus, then I would have to like give up my clients in order to work another job, which really didn't sit well for me. Yeah, so it's tough. Like when you think that there's nothing, you're on maternity leave,
Yeah.
and you just are like, okay, I have like this amount of money. How can I make that?
And it's maternity leave, but it's like you saying to yourself, I'm not going to work because I want to recover and be with my new child. So it reminds me of the concept of, I feel like when I was postpartum, I needed a lot of like people granting me permission of like, you can not have to go back to the gym right away and you don't have to go back to work right away. And so just to be self-employed and to not have any sort of guidelines of what you can and should take for your well-being and your child's well-being, like it's tough. I feel like, I don't know, that's just an
Yeah.
interesting struggle.
Yeah, and I think that's for really any mom who takes, whether they're like granted 2 weeks, like some people get 2 weeks, only, I'm going to say only 2 weeks. Some people get, I don't know, 7 weeks, a few months. I don't even know what the range is, to be honest. To me, it's not enough. I have a friend in another country, they get a year. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
She's like, you don't have it? I was like, no. And she works for herself. I was like, what? And it's hard because then some women are not physically ready to go back. Now, I do all my sessions virtually, so I'm sitting, I don't have to leave my house, but I had a very difficult nursing journey. There were like other challenges along the way that I was like, well, I'm not really ready. And my brain wasn't ready, and to show up for clients and like I was like, my brain is just not ready. Like I'm feeling tired. How can I need to be 100% for my clients. When I show up for them, I'm not. So I'm going to give myself permission for myself and for them to take more time, which is also scary because I was like, I don't know who's coming back. I don't know if I'm going to be getting new clients as I'm watching my bank account like dwindle. But I was like, I know this has to be the right choice because I wasn't ready to leave my daughter. My brain wasn't ready, and I wasn't ready to see clients that way either.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll figure this out. We're going to keep focusing on my health.
Yeah, good for you. That just takes strength. And yeah, I'm caught up in the listening right now and just trying to really imagine myself in your shoes. And so, do you mind sharing, Abby, you said drain your savings accounts, you downsize quite a bit. There's a GoFundMe involved. My money is like racking up the dollars here. So, do you mind sharing what type of investment this was for you?
So with the medical procedures and the medication and paying for donor sperm, it ended up being around $40,000 for one round of IVF. And then I have embryos, which are frozen. So there's continued fees for those too.
And
that's just the IVF.
Not
That's
delivering
not
the
like
baby. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know those numbers. I like looked at them after, they send you the bill, and I like looked at them and like the co-pays. And that's the part that I was like, I'm pregnant. Like, and you just send off like, now I just send off like a monthly, like, here you go. Like, this is what I have for you this month. To be honest, like that's where I'm at. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have $25 for you. Like, Sorry. Chop didn't, cover, my insurance didn't pay for Chop for the cardiology appointment. They couldn't get me into a place that did cover me. And I only had so much time to make this decision. So I went thinking, my insurance would cover it. So there's a bill there. And I'm like, talk to them. I'm like, can we work on something? Can I give you $25 a month? And so I send them, I'll be paying that for a while.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And worth it, right?
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's priceless. I don't know, even how I came up with the money. And there's times where I'm like, oh, see other people doing things. I'm like, oh, I could be doing, but it's like she's priceless.
Mhm.
You can't. And that was my thought. I was like, well, what happens if the first round of IVF doesn't work? I don't know. I don't think I would have stopped. I think I would have figured out a way to hustle work. I don't know what I would have done to figure out a way to come up with money to try again, I think.
Yeah.
But, you kind of actually there's grants and stuff that you can apply to. So I school, going to college grants. Here, I'll share this one. There's a place out, and I can't remember the name. There's a place, fertility clinic out in California that you can buy raffle tickets, and they pull a raffle, they pull raffle tickets like you would anywhere else, and you could win a round of IVF.
Wow.
And when I saw that, I kind of lost my mind a little bit that day. And I was like, could you imagine needing a surgery or something? And they're like, okay, we're just gonna, in order for you to get it, you need a raffle ticket.
Yeah.
And I guess people have different perspectives on that too, because I shared that. And they were like, but what you're doing is you're electing to go through this. And I was like, to me, it's not electing. I was like, I need to do this as much as I would need any other kind of surgery, is how I felt.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, it was upsetting at first, and I just try and find humor in things. I was like,
Yeah.
could you imagine?
Yeah. Very, very interesting. So, how do you feel like your approach to motherhood has been? And that's a pretty broad question, but how has it been?
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. I'm so glad I did it. Every day is just amazing. Today she recognized her shadow, really was waving at it. It was and it was a moment. And the fact that I'm choosing, I'm not working as much as I usually would because I want to be with her. As for you were going to tap into the daycare question, I'm not ready to put her into that yet, plus the financial piece for that. So my mom watches her when I'm working, which is just a few hours a week. And it means that things are financially tight, but I get to see those moments. And because I am choosing to do this way, even though it's challenging and I worry about money, that again is a priceless, to see that. And it's something I would have never thought. And we were just walking slow today, and she kept looking back, and I realized our shadows were there. And that moment, it's just mind boggling how they work. I've worked with kids in my life, I've studied child development, but to actually see it happening is just a wild ride, and it's beautiful. And so I really appreciate motherhood. I really appreciate moms out there doing and having to make really hard choices, whether they are choosing to send their kids to daycare. I can't imagine, because on nights that I work a little bit later, it's dinner, bath, reading, and it's such a short amount of time. And I think about women too that might not be able to choose what I'm doing and only get 2 hours a night with their kid.
Yeah.
And then the weekend, that's hard. It's definitely this hard balance. So I appreciate all the moms out there who are doing whatever they need to do to kind of have whatever their dream of being with their kids and their dream of maybe their career or whatever other dreams that they have, and trying to fit it all in.
Yeah. It's the ability to choose how you want to pivot or make it work for you. And it's tough. And I think it's okay to have that pivot or choice evolve over time as well as everything in life does.
I do love working and working with my clients. And so it's tough because I also want to there's a duality there of you want to be at home with your kid, but you also want to work because you enjoy your career, or You want to go, go out with your girlfriends, but you also really want to be with your child at the same time. So there's like that, like two emotions at the same time.
I think it's really interesting. I've been reading about the concept of the motherhood penalty, right? And it's at like the effect motherhood has on a woman's career, right?
Mhm.
But then there's from the other side is the thinking about it from the child's perspective and what is in the best interest of the child. And so it's all the dialogue around it is along the same premise or idea that if you have a child and a career as a woman, they both can't flourish to the full extent that they could flourish because they're coexisting at the same time. That feels like
Mhm.
the core of the dialogue, issue, debate, motherhood penalty. So, is that something that you're familiar with at all, or do you have any perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like, oh, something I do with clients is I have them draw a pie chart of where they put their time in. And so before kids, where's your time at work? And maybe it still stays the same, but then you lose time in another area of your life, like fitness, wellness, time with friends, like there is this challenge of like how do you fit everything in to a day. I think it depends on the careers too, and if there's flexibility. For me, I have found that I'm more productive at certain times because I know I only have 2 hour window to like work on content or do certain things. Of course, client time's different. And there's the other part of, well, it's nice to see kids see their mom have a career that they love and are thriving in. But then what if mom can't be there for, PTA? But maybe that's not important, or maybe it is, Is mom able to go to some of your soccer games or your school play? I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard to think about. And I think the other thing is I'm hoping the world will shift where like women feel comfortable in being more assertive and being in workplaces who are understanding of, okay, there's a school field trip and mom wants to go on that. That's okay. We can find coverage, or that work could be done another day. Because I think most of the time, like most work can be done at another time. We can be both, but sometimes there is a sacrifice to that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's super interesting. I came into this Moms with Benefits initiative really focused on the motherhood penalty and the impact child can have on your career. And I consider myself very open-minded to hear all sides of like an argument and a dialogue. And so a lot of the dialogue that has caught my attention that isn't necessarily disagreeing with the motherhood penalty. It's just sharing a different perspective of if raising kids is our first priority, like in life at a life cerebral kind of level, it is the careers and the organizations that need to readjust their thinking of how they look at, respect, and give credit to those who are doing the child rearing. And so it's just intertwined. It's interesting.
Yeah, and it's hard to pull those pieces apart and look at them separately. You can't. You have to look at it as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think it comes back to is like, how do we support and what kind of supports need to be in place? Like, what kinds of things need to change to support families, and some families don't have that choice of work or not work. It's mom has to work. And I think, I don't know what the percentage, but in my head, I feel like most families at this time like need two parent incomes. I need two parent income, but I just keep coming back to this, like building more community, building more support, building more awareness. I think, we're burning people out. So then they're not able to focus. So when we're putting any professional and we're putting so much pressure on them in an unhealthy way and not giving them support, then they're burned out. Then they can't focus at work anyway. If you're not giving parents permission and moms permission to like take time off, sick days, your kid is sick. You have to use your sick day to take care of your kid. Now you get sick. How are we like supporting? Like we need more supports in place.
Yeah.
Or we need corporations, which then I hear corporations go, well, if someone's not working, we lose money. But like, don't you want your employees to then stick around because you give great benefits and you support them? they're going to stay versus like having people come and go, which costs you money. And they're going to want to come work for you. So when they show up, they're showing up in their full potential, their full self, and able to focus during that time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's just a lot of different people involved, different stakeholders involved, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of tough conversations because I think all these perspectives matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like it's just such an opportunity in my mind to like collaborate and figure out how we can make this work better for all the parties involved. And I hope we can make some more progress in this area.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's coming together and having more conversations. And doesn't mean someone has the solution, but just like talking through it and saying like, here's a thought, like this is how it feels. And like
Yeah.
really listening to people who are going through it on both ends.
Yeah.
You know, what's their perspective, and opening eyes and opening conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Abby, for joining us. Before I let you go, I did want you to share just a little bit about you founded the Ambitious Mamas Collective, a space to thrive, and you help work with women going through IVF and who are on the path to becoming a single mom by choice, navigating postpartum. So, where can people find you if they're interested in hearing more and learning more about what you do?
So you can find me on Instagram at Evolving Whole. And also evolvingwhole.com is my website. And you can find details for services or the Ambitious Mamas Collective, which is free. We meet like usually the first and third Thursday of the month. And it's people from all over the US. And I've had some people from other countries pop in, which has been excited. All age moms. So, you know, yes, I have a little, but it doesn't mean that you can't join if you have a teenager or even older. You know, I welcome that. Welcome your experiences and sharing. And it's a little bit of networking, you know, because why not? Like, let's build each other up, but we share wins, we share struggles. I like to start with a thought question or a prompt or something, because journaling is important, but as busy moms, do we have time to sit down and journal? So I give you a few moments to like reflect, and I usually have a question to start, and we can share it in the call or not. Like, it's very open. Or if you have something else that you need to bring to the table that day, it's there. It's a great space to do that.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. And we hope you check out evolvingwhole.com.
Moms with Benefits is chasing financial and emotional stability for motherhood. If you've resonated with any of the stories from our moms, we'd love for you to give us a rating and quick review to help spread the word. You'll also find Moms with Benefits on Instagram at momswithbenefits.org. Keep going and keep growing, Mama.